So welcome back for part 2 of our Encanto video. So we've done some little bits of flowers and foliage, you can find those in part 1. We've got the butterflies and the glasses, and in this one we're going to make some paper sails from wafer paper which we're going to paint, and we're going to do a little functioning candle because that features big in the video, in the movie, and then of course I'll show you how we'll tape it all together so that we create our little masterpiece based on that film. So here are all of our pieces. So last week we made our glasses, which here I've painted gold, so I'll show you how to do that. We made the little leafies, which are dusted. I've got some that aren't, so I'll show you that as well. And the little sort of bougainvillea type doodads. And we made a couple of these little yarn butterflies, which again I will show you how to. I just dusted them with some mega pink. There's no great sort of secret there. But then we've also got the little candle, because we had to have a candle in this, and of course it functions formed from a birthday cake candle, because why wouldn't you? And it's been a long time since we've done that. We've got some gold twisty wisties, a technical term, and then we've got these nice sort of, so they're made from wafer paper, sort of, well, shapes. That I've then painted the pattern on, flicked over with a bit of gold, and the idea is that those are reminiscent of her dress, because she has her skirt, I should say. The last what's her name?
Pardon?
The girl. Someone will say what the name of the lady in Encanto is. But yeah, she has a beautiful skirt. So this is a sort of version thereof. So yeah, that's what's on our list for this evening, and I think I shall start with the wafer paper, because that's it. Well done. That is what is going to make a little bit of a, not a mess, but it just takes a wee bit of time. But yeah, so that's they're pretty. I liked them, and I'm always willing for any opportunity to use teal, because it's a pretty colour, but it's not one that comes up that often in flower stuff. So I have got some wafer paper, and it is just bog standard. I think it's the 0.35 thick, so 0.35 of a mil. It is it's from the edible print supplies, so it's what you could run through an edible printer, but any wafer paper will do. And you want about a third of a bit of A4. And you can see I've already cut this, so it's about a third of it. And we are going to cut that third into 3, so that you've got a bit here, which is about, hang on, I have a ruler here because I know someone will ask. It is about 7 by 10 centimetres, give or take, but this is not a precise thing. If I put that there, we'll be able to see better. And you just want to cut yourself, I'm going to say 4 or 5 rough sort of petally shapes, like so. Nice and rounded, but it doesn't matter at all. As you can see, these ones here, I have a couple of different shapes and sizes, a slightly smaller one there, so that's fine. And then we are going to paint those to colour it. Now, the best way for me to do this is probably going to be to move that out of the way, and we'll go for a bit of kitchen paper, but I'm probably still going to make a terrible mess. So it's there. You will see it once it's painted. I realise that I'm working white on white. We never did find like coloured kitchen towel, did we?
No, we didn't.
So I've got some of our teal gel colouring and some of our cyan blue gel colouring. I've got a little paint palette, and I've got some water. So we don't need anything fancy for this, we're just doing water. And you can see the brush I used earlier, because it's still a bit colourful. And I'm just going to pop some water in there. And I'm going to add in, and you can totally do this with a toothpick, I'm being supremely lazy, some of the teal colouring. which if I test this on my paper, it gives us that sort of colour, but I actually want it just a little bit bluer than that. So we can take a bit of our cyan and we'll just mix that in. And actually I'm going to grab a little bit more because I can already see that I just want a little bit more of it in there. There we go. So can you see it's just a slightly bluer tone of teal, and it is, I love these colours. And then all we're going to do is paint that onto our wafer paper, like so. And then just to dry it a bit and so it doesn't stick, just dust over it with just a little bit of corn flour, which, oh goodness me,
that's quite a lot.
Quite a lot of corn flour. You can see I've kind of dyed my bristles blue, so I'm going to have to give that a wash. So you could do it with a different brush. If you've got a puff, you could do that, but just, it's not going to come off on anything. And then I shall do the same to the other side, like so. And again, just give that a bit of a dab. And fairly quickly you will see it has soaked in and you get this sort of nice flexible situation going on. So I'm going to do it on here just so that I can move it. You just want to grab some paintbrushes, pens, whatever. Spread them apart a little bit like that. Pop your shape on and just, in fact I just want to bring that one down a little bit. If it feels like it's sticking too much, just go in with a bit of corn flour. Like so. And then just leave that to dry. And you can see I've just used it to create that sort of ruffled shape. When it's dry, you will end up with something like this. So you can see where it's dried, but it's held that shape. I was quite corn floury on this one, so we can just rub that off. Like so, and then we're just going to attach a wire to it. So I was just using 26 gauge wire. You could, I mean, they're so light, 26 is fine, but 26 or 24, either is okay. Just grab a little bit here. About a third of a piece. I'm being fairly fairly generous is the word I was looking for with the wire, because it's easier to cut it down than it is to need to add more. And then you just want a little bit. So we'll just cut a little strip, something like that, which I can then chuck some colour on. So this is happening once the sail is dry. Do you know what? I shall just deface the petal pad, it doesn't matter. Pop that.
Give it a wash afterwards.
Exactly. Pop the wire on there, and then you just want to press that on to the back of your shape, and it should, needs a little extra liquid, you can do that, but it should stick. There we go. That bit doesn't want to stick. There we are. Perfect. And if it's all sticky, just pop some corn flour on your fingers. As I've said before, by no stretch am I an expert on wafer paper, but I will use it for certain things. So of course that is going to be the back. And once that's dried, they are entirely solid, as you can see. And that is how you do those wafer paper shapes. So before I move on, does anybody have any questions? I'm just getting blue everywhere now. I should say teal everywhere. And this will dry, it takes, I don't know, maybe 15-20 minutes to dry, something like that. Depends on how warm it is and so on. And you could see there that you are, when you are putting it on the brush, so, you know, we'll dip the brush, but then just wipe it off, because you want to be able to colour it in. You don't want it soaking wet. If your wafer paper does get too wet and it turns to smush, just start again with another bit. So that is those. So what I will do is leave this one there just to dry a little bit before we get the dusts and the paints and everything out. I can prep everything before we do that. So the curly whirly bits are super easy. We're just using some 28 gauge wire for those. But again, if you've not got 28 and you use 26, that'd be absolutely fine. A couple of different lengths, so maybe some thirds and some halves. And these we just want to tape up with some half width white tape. So actually if I extract another petal pad, then we've got, you can see what I'm doing. You don't need to tape right from the bottom because that's where we'll tape it together. But just run the tape up. And then what I tend to do with these when I get to the top is just sort of tear it off so that I get a bit of a point rather than a blunt end on there. This is a nice little opportunity for a bit of taping technique. How I start it off, you can see there it's folded over the wire. So I'll fold it under, sort of pinch it with this hand, then you can wrap a couple of times, and once it's on, you can start to spin. And that is basically what I'm doing. It's just I do it much faster than that because, like, you know, your muscle memory and that kicks in. So that's it for those, because we'll twist them and paint them in just a minute. And I think the only other thing we need to make is the little candle. So we did something similar when we did the Beauty and the Beast one, which was fun. But because of doing the birthday candle, it means you can light it, should you wish, which makes for a nice photograph.
Yeah.
So it's just
a novelty.
Yes, exactly. It's just, so it's a white birthday candle cut in half. And I've got one of the little holders that come with the candles, and these ones are, they're like little flower shapes, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to take a third of a bit of 20 gauge wire, third of a length. Edwina, bless you, talking to me. See, I don't even have that. I just talk to myself, really. So, well, you can do one of two things. If your candle is comfortable in the holder, then you can just leave it at that. But actually, what I ended up doing earlier was lighting the little candle, dropping in
a bit of wax.
Yeah.
So you've lost it.
That might be enough. Nope, it is not enough. That's it. Letting
just a few drips.
Just a few drips, just so that you can then and hold it for a second whilst it sets. Just so that it holds the candle in place properly.
So it doesn't fall out.
Yeah. That should do. And again, just with some half width white tape, we will simply tape onto our 20 gauge and then just tape that onto the little stalk there of the candle holder. And because I want to make sure that is well attached, I should just wrap the tape up and down a couple of times. And then that is ready to paint gold in just a moment as well. Yeah, let's dust first. Right, so the little bougainvilleas, which I like, I think they're there. I wasn't sure if I was going to make the middles more yellow, but I actually quite like the slightly softer tone of the yellow. So that's just the yellow of the long yellow stamens.
Yeah, close enough.
So mega pink dust, and we're just going to do the outside of the petals there. As always, you don't want too much dust on your brush, which is why I always do it on the kitchen paper so that I can sort of work the colour into the bristles. Like so. And then we can carefully pop a little bit inside. Just try and avoid the stamens. It doesn't matter if a little bit gets on there, but you don't want to make your yellow stamens pink. And it is. So if you remember the flower paste for this was just our magenta, which is sort of the perfect pairing with the mega pink dust to end up with a really bright pink, and pink bougainvilleas are, so that works. And I'm just going to tape the stems of those up with a little bit of Nile green tape. I forgot what it was called then. Which you can either cut with a pair of scissors to make it less wide, or I have a tape strimmer here, which is going to give us beautifully quartered tape. And when it's in the green, I always think it looks like courgette spaghetti. And I say that every time, even though I've never once in my life eaten courgette spaghetti. Not that I wouldn't, I like courgettes, I've just never had the occasion. So again, we will just tape that down and just bring it down an inch or so. So that was those. Whilst I've got the pink dust out, we've got these sweet little yarn butterflies. So doing it inspired by Encanto, we had to have some butterflies, and then I've noticed that on the top that Mirabelle wears, she's got like a little yarn brooch. So I had some white yarn. So cotton is the best thing, like cotton yarn. Or cotton wool, whichever word you want to use. And I realise that cotton wool is a misnomer, but it makes sense. I've also seen a few people just do it like just with sewing thread, which works as well. So again, you will find that in the video from last time. And we're just going to take some pink dust and just go over those threads. And it's going to take the dust really nicely, make it bright pink. If you had pink yarn, you could of course use that. Which, to be fair, if I looked hard enough, I probably do, but we did it in with the white. And you can see I'm sort of dusting it on the direction of the wings. I was going to say petals, but no, the wings. Like so. And if you find you've gotten an awful lot onto the black in the middle, you can just sort of rub it off. Reshape those little antennae. Yeah, little pink butterfly. So I've got a couple of those. Move these out of the way. For our little leafies, which again we made in the last one, we're going to use a bit of lime and a bit of leaf green. So I will dust first with the lime green. Actually, there they are before they're dusted, so you can sort of see the before and after. So we'll do the lime from the top down, make those nice and bright, like so. You're all very quiet tonight, aren't you?
Yeah.
And then we'll use a little bit of the leaf green, and we're going to do that bottom up. And actually, to be fair, a smarter person would probably have made these on bright green wires. And there's absolutely no way I was going to sit taping up all the stems on all these leaves. So I'm actually just dusting the stem a bit. It'll be fine. So that's us dusting the leaves. So the first thing we will paint is the little pattern onto these sails. And I think it's really cute, actually.
The pattern?
Yeah, I like it. So somewhere I have, here we are, another paint palette. So we're going to make a paint from our dusts. So as always when I do that, my liquids for the paint is going to be a combination of Rejuvenator Spirit and a little bit of liquid glaze. So this stuff, I like the Squires one because it's very glazy. but anyone will do. And it's just, you want one that's liquid as opposed to a spray, albeit that it's exactly the same substance. And then in here I've got some Rejuvenator Spirit, which is it's 98% ethanol, so it's very high percentage alcohol. If you don't have any of this, then you can use gin or vodka. You definitely want the glaze, because the glaze sets the paint. If you've not got the glaze in there, what will happen is it will dry and then it will rub off on your finger, because once the alcohol or whatever you've used has evaporated, it sort of goes back to being dust. So the glaze is the sort of magic ingredient to painting with dusts like this. So I've just got a few drops of Rejuvenator. I shall do the pinks first, and I'm just going to pop my brush in there. This is the same brush I used earlier, which is why it's already coming up pink. And just take a couple of brushfuls, you don't need too much. And this, we want some bright magenta and just a little bit of mega pink to make it darker. Something like that. And you can see I'm actually mixing it up here because we want such a small amount. There's no need to make a whole divot. Is that the right word of it?
I'm not sure.
And you also want it to be a fairly thickish paint so that it will show up on top of your teal wafer paper. You can see here, I don't know if it shows actually, but there's a bit of where I had the cornflower on it. So this is a brush that just had some like blue and teal dust, so I can just go over that and get rid of it. Oh God, sorry. Right, if I put that there and that there, we're all in view, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
So, little viney flowers snaking up. I've done mine on the left-hand side of each thing because I think these are going to go on the left of the final piece. And just keep it super simple. So I've done little 5-petal flowers, and you can see I'm just doing them with 5 little blobs. It does not have to be massively detailed. And you'll see as these dry, they're going to get a bit dark, but we'll go over them again. This is very much me and I can't paint and talk, but we know this. So what I think I'll do here, I'll do one over here, and then we can just have one more little one at the top there. And by the time we've done that, the first one will have dried. And then the second coat is going to come up much more colourful because we've effectively primed the surface with the first lot. And then here the colour is sitting on top. Like so.
Oh, which brush is that? Asks Anna.
This one is, I will tell you in just one second. It's a number 3, I believe. Yeah, it's number 3. There you go, so you can see, nice and pink. The next bit we can do will be the green. So for this one, I'm going to use some fresh green and a bit of lime. So actually I can get the leaf green out of the way there. That's unpink enough, it will do, but you could mix up a little new bit if you wanted. So there's the fresh green, and here's our lime green. And you just want to make a very bright, sharp green colour. And here, so we just want to do some little curvy lines, sort of to link each of the flowers up. It helps if I stop throwing it about the place. So we can have one down here, one going that way. This is a number 1 brush. You could totally go smaller to a 0 if you wanted. One like that. And then we'll do just some very simple leaf shapes. And remember, and I always say this even though I forget to do it half the time myself, that you can turn the thing you're painting rather than trying to sort of twizzle your hand. And if they end up looking sort of brush strokey, if that makes sense, that's absolutely perfect, because in theory this is supposed to be embroidery, so having a bit of a look of it like that is fine. That was terrible English, but I hope you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You can pop on a couple of extra leaves if you want, sort of poking out behind the flowers. And maybe up here we can just have another little flick like that. This looks like it's come up a treat, but if it wasn't looking bright enough, then just like we did on the flowers, a second coat will show up much more, because it's sitting on top of that layer of colour and glaze instead of directly onto that dark teal colour. Like so. We'll then do a little bit of blue, which I used, I think it was some white and some bluish blue. Bluish blue? No, bluest blue even is the name of it. So I'll pop a drop or two of that in there, and I shall just use my brush to grab a dot or two of the glaze. And it really is, you just need a spot or two, because it's just a teeny tiny bit to seal it. So some white, and then we'll add some blue. Yeah, that looks about the right colour. And then this I've just done as sort of 3 little dots off the side of the flowers. And this is nothing terribly specific, it was just to make the pattern a little bit busier, really. It doesn't really matter which side you do it either. So here I think this one I'll do on that side. And I think they're drying okay, so we don't need a second coat on those. And then the final bit is just to do those yellow middles. And for that, pale yellow cream and a little bit of bright yellow in there as well. And a finer brush, so I'm using a 0 for this one. We only need a little bit. So I'll take some of that, some of my pale yellow cream, a bit more liquid. Oh, that's quite a lot of bright yellow. And then to make the middles, I'm just going to do sort of dab, dab, dab to create a rough centre. Like so. So you're not trying to paint a perfect circle or anything, but the dab, dab, dabbing kind of creates a slightly, flower middle sort of shape.
Well, it's like stamens or something.
Yes, exactly. Bit of texture. And that, my friends, is that. So it doesn't take too long, but I think it looks really cute. And it feels very mirror-belly. So next thing is just, we want some gold paint. So I've used our antique gold, which is my absolute favourite shade of gold. You could go for bright gold if you wanted it brighter, but I do, personally for me, I do like the slightly subtler gloss name of the antique. Bigger brush, this is the number 6 one, because we're just colouring things. We don't need to be fine about it. But same principle as before. Some rejuvenator and a couple of brushfuls of glaze. So I have a third one for luck. And then I'm just going to pick up some dust. And we will get that mixed in. And as always, well, you can always do multiple coats, but you're always looking for that sort of sweet spot between, you don't want it gloopy, but you don't want it to be too thin either, because then you won't have the coverage. So first thing to paint gold is your glasses. And if you've got that nice medium flow, is that showing up all right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Then it's fairly easy because you put the paint on and it will kind of run round the sides, so you don't have to put too much into being too fine about it. You've bought new glasses, haven't you?
I did.
Which is exciting. I have not, because I don't like change and it freaks me out.
I think you still have a pair of glasses that you bought last time and didn't wear.
I know, because I got wigged out. It's very silly, but hey, it could be worse. So that's that. And if you decide once it's dried that you want a second coat, you can just add a second coat. We want to do paint our little candle. So here we'll paint the stem like so, and we can also paint the candle holder, because via the power of edible glaze, believe it or not, despite the fact that it is edible, it will adhere to pretty much everything, including, but not limited to, the plastic of the candle thingamabobber, might take a couple of coats, and then I think in the film it's got there's patterns on the candle, which is a step too far, but what I have done is just run some gold up, a bit brush strokey about it, and then we can flick some gold on it later as well. So yes, you can more or less thingamabob. What was the question? Yes, paint. So the glaze or rejuvenator will do it. You just have to work at it a little bit to get it dissolved, because the solvent for... So the thing, right, let's start at the beginning. I can't do two things at once, sorry. The thing that makes glaze be liquid and then dry is that it has alcohol in it, ethanol. So it's dried once that has evaporated. So therefore alcohol is also the solvent for it. So alcohol is what you would use to, and by alcohol, ideally rejuvenator, because it's that 90%, 98%. If you're in the States, then Everclear is what you want, which I believe you can get from pharmacies. Which you probably could hear, but
probably, yeah, because it'd be like.
But yeah, rejuvenator from a cake place is specifically, food grade, etc., etc. So yeah, that will indeed bring it back, but it just takes a little bit of effort. In terms of cleaning everything, I tend to use hand sanitizer. This is still the same giant bottle we bought for doing Cake International in 2021.
Yeah,
I think it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, this will clean your brushes and stuff. So you sort of put some in the palm of your hand, give your brush a good swirl, and sort of alternate between that and warm soapy water. You can use it to clean these, and it's just that this is way cheaper to get and use as a cleaning agent than using the Rejuvenator Spirit or whatever. So that's that painted, and then we want to paint our Twisty Wisties as well. So we will paint these whilst they are straight. Hopefully you can see that going on. I'm going to be honest, I can barely see it.
Yeah, you can see it.
Okay, good. It's happening more through feel and belief than anything else. I'm not sure whether I should take my glasses off for better eyesight, leave them on, or what. Which I appreciate is ironic, given that I was like, oh no, I don't want new glasses.
But you probably need them.
We will give those just a second to dry. Which I'm going to assume this one is. I'm feeling impatient. All you want to do is just grab a paintbrush, pencil, whatever, and curl it round. And it's up to you. You can either leave it as a perfect little twist like that, or I tend to give it a little pull and a tweak so that it's not entirely perfect. And then once that's done, you can just paint over any patchy bits maybe from where you touched it, especially if you've done what I just did and was impatient. So I've just added a bit more Rejuvenator in there to sort of re-enliven that, and as you can see, make it a bit looser. So I can load my brush up, put the little candle there as well, and I'm just going to flick. It does go a bit everywhere, so do be careful. or as I do, just accept the chaos. If you were doing this for all of them, like don't do them one at a time. You can lay them all out and kind of catch them all. So look, these I think I'm just going to layer up and tape. And I do wish actually, I've done mine on 26 gauge. It's not the end of the world. 24 will just have a bit more structure to it. And I think I'll go for this one. Right, let me tape it and then I can fidget them into place. Ooh, if we did Star Wars. So do you guys remember doing Nemo and Ratatouille, and we made the little tiny, with a pair of tweezers making a tiny little fishy? I wonder if we could make a tiny little X-Wing and a tiny little TIE fighter.
You might be able to, yeah.
Which for the uninitiated are the good and the bad spaceships. So I think I probably might pop that extra one on the front there, but I'm not sure if I want it just yet. These are quite busy actually, aren't they?
Yeah.
In terms of their colours and things. Okay, so let's tape together some of the bougainvilleas, which they're sort of, well, they're branchy and clumpy, aren't they?
Yeah.
Are you just agreeing with me, or do you actually know what I'm talking about?
It wasn't a wholly confident yet.
So, well, let's start with a green one. Sorry, start with a pink one even, and then I just want to add the green bits, just to make it bushy, really. And they are a little ruffle fillers, that's what we call them. Yes, God, that had left my brain entirely, but that's been, I don't know, 7 or 8 years I've been making it like that. They can be a little bit fiddly, but they do slot together if you play with it a wee bit. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, that's my tummy. Haven't had any dinner. So I want, I think, a little bit more bushy greenness. So maybe there. And here. So what else would we have in Toy Story then?
I'm trying to think, I can start googling the characters. But yeah, perhaps that's just an idea generally of just do just something floral, even if it's not obvious, but try and take inspiration.
Make the colours. Oh yeah, look, this is going to work quite nicely. So if I pop that one there, and then we'll make another one to pop out here. Right, so what I want here is I want this to stick out there. So I'm going to make it a little bit bushier and a little bit shorter than the other one. But I can always make a third one because it's going to be easier to have 3 sets of bougainvillea that sort of all move independently than trying to make it with just 2, if that makes sense. So actually if I do that, bring that green bit round, I think that should slot itself in okay. The T-Rex and the springy dog, yeah. Slink.
Mm.
Oh, we used to have a little cat called Slinky. Let's put one butterfly here, and because they're on wires, we should be able to shape and bend that so that it's coming forward, because as always when we're putting floral arrangements together, remember you've got backwards and forwards as well as side to side. And if that's there, then I think we should have the other little flutterby can possibly even, if I bend it like that, I might be able to, that's it, slot behind, so it's kind of sticking out from the folds of the dress, as it were. Right, I want to work some of these other bits in before using up the rest of the bougainvilleas there. Here's a question. So I know I tend to make things lopsided because I tend to go for not symmetrical, but actually for this one, does it want an extra, what do you think? Does it want that extra fan there, giving a little bit more? A or B? I think it does, doesn't it?
I think it does, yeah.
Right.
You still got to get what, the glasses and the...
Yeah, no, that's what I'm thinking. So, twisty wisties, again, technical term. We just want to have them at different heights and not, they like to wrap up together, which I tend to try and stop because then they're both following the same path, then you kind of can't see them all. So I think that we'll have some twisty wisties there, and I suppose for these, I feel like there's a lot of fireworks in Encanto, which I suppose is what these are after.
Where is it set?
Colombia.
Oh yeah, we had this conversation last time.
So some twisty wisties there, and we'll pop some on the other side as well, sort of behind that butterfly, I think. Actually, I've got a couple of shorter ones. Which can kind of, I'll tell you what, if I tape them on here, they're on wires, so I can rearrange them a bit more precisely afterwards. Right, so some twisty wisties there. We have so we'll have to do some creative bending for this. So if I bend it back like that and then out like that, so can you see I've put sort of two right angles in it? I don't know, my hand is so filthy, I don't think that's actually helping. Which means that, so I actually just need a slightly longer bit there. Because what I'm trying to achieve is, because I will light this for us at the end just for a second, can you see, looking at it from there, that the candle isn't going to set fire to the rest of it? That's why I've brought that out so far. Important. Which I feel like is important, but I also think that that's not really a prominent enough place for the candle. I don't feel like it's showing up enough, is it?
Should it go above the butterfly maybe?
Yeah, I wonder if it might actually be better if it was. Let's get that fed in. Up there at the top.
Yeah.
I think I prefer that, especially because
you have to come forward a little bit so you don't, again, risk of the burning.
Yeah, hang on. There we go. Right. Oh, I seem to have... Right, I don't want to put this down, so this is just going to get attached to a quarter width tape. But I will swap back to something more sensible in a minute. It's just having got it in position, I don't like to then let go of it before it is attached. Yeah, I need this candle to just come up a little bit, which, oh, it's not going to do now, is it? I think that's just irritating. But actually, well, no, that's okay. I think I can cope with it like that. Right, let me chop some more tape. Just 1 second whilst I get some more tape. Yeah.
Just bring your hands up a bit.
So I just want to pop. Yes, I think that's nice. That just adds where the candle is up there a little bit. No, I haven't. I'm just not really sure where to put them, so I'm just kind of avoiding them for the time being.
Avoiding them until you have to.
Yeah. There's a running theme, if you haven't noticed. Let's see. I wonder if, again, let me know what you guys think, if the glasses sort of sit in there with the twisty wisties, so it's fairly subtle, so they're there but it's not too obvious.
Sorry, say that again.
The glasses are just there. Too subtle?
No, I think it kind of, I think it works amongst the other bits.
Because I could probably get, yeah, actually I quite like that. And then the right, this is just a bit of untidy taping to keep it in position. Right, and then what I've got hopefully is enough of these bits left to sort of fill out the bottom so that it's all growing together. And they are beautiful colours, like pink and teal and gold is always gorgeous. So let's do, I'm just going to whack these on. No, we haven't done Jurassic Park. That I have no clue how on earth one would, apart from sort of the long neck of a brachiosaurus poking out from some leaves.
Let's do some ferns.
I have to, as Jurassic Park is definitely, if not my favourite film, definitely top 5.
Yeah, it's good. The books are good as well, actually.
I haven't. You've read them. I haven't.
Read, yeah, the two. They're worth a read, certainly.
I remember seeing it in the cinema.
Yeah, so did I.
Oh, broke the.
I was a dinosaur kid, so that was a big one.
Actually, I was going to say I want to spread these out a bit, but not too much, because actually they do grow together very much, so don't they? We have.
I don't think you need it.
I know, but it's there, so I want to use it. Even though I always say to everyone, you don't have to use everything you've made.
Take it away.
A
or
B?
I think that one's just
too much.
Yeah, because you still got your not symmetricalness.
And then, hang on, we'll do it. Do you want to swap to the front and zoom in? Because they are really pretty colours. Oh, are you still top down? I'll wait until it's... Oh, I don't know.
So I'm in preview, so they can't see what I'm doing. So that's it there.
All right, that's about the best we can do, isn't it?
That is about it.
Because that's the one downside with the candles, is that you can't necessarily...
Just backwards.
There you go. So there's our little Encanto flame, which, yeah.
Isn't hopefully burning.
No. So there we have it. Encanto, the movie, summed up in a tiny little cakey masterpiece posy for you just there. I hope you enjoyed it. Do like and subscribe to the channel, and you'll find lots of other videos, flower making, other Disney movies and stuff. And of course you can get all of our colours, equipment, cutters, etc. on our website, immaculateconfections.co.uk, and we'll see you again very soon.